The ILO is the only United Nations agency comprised of tripartite constituents representing government, employers, and workers' organizations from 187 member states. This makes it a unique forum in which to conduct social dialogue on the most important issues of the world of work. For 100 years, the International Labor Organization has worked with its constituents to protect the rights of workers around the world. The ILO sets international labor standards, develops policy guidance, and designs tools to help ensure full and productive employment and decent work for all. Since the ILO's founding, the office and its constituents have set an ambitious social agenda which relies on strengthening economic security and equal opportunity, leaving no one behind while fostering a culture that protects workers' rights and nurtures their aspirations. This work is based on social dialogue, which promotes participation, fairness, and legitimacy, and ensures that solutions found to complex problems in the world of work are durable and sustainable.
The ILO was founded 100 years ago with the mission of promoting social justice and decent working conditions as the best way of assuring stability and peace in the world. And from the very beginning, an explicit part of our mandate was protecting the interests and the rights of migrant workers, people working in countries other than their own. And 100 years later, that mandate is very much with us because migrant workers are simply amongst some of the most vulnerable, some of the most exploited sections of the global labour force.
According to the ILO's most recent global estimates, migrant workers account for 164 million of the world's approximately 258 million international migrants, or 70% of all working-age migrants. Women make up nearly half. Migrant workers vastly contribute to growth and development in the communities of their destination, as well as to their families and communities in their home countries, who greatly benefit from remittances which support livelihoods, health, and education. They bring home critical skills acquired during migration. Yet, migration governance globally is complex and fragmented, and significant challenges remain, including rising xenophobia and racism and inequality in the workplace. Migrant workers often suffer from poor wages and working conditions, unsafe or dangerous jobs, lack of access to health care and broader social protection, and social exclusion. Their livelihoods may further be threatened by conflict, natural disaster, and climate change. Fair labor migration frameworks that include safeguarding fair recruitment is a way of recognizing migrant workers' human potential and is a key part of ensuring fulfillment of the United Nations 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals. The unique vulnerabilities workers face when employed in countries other than their own is why, in its founding constitution of 1919, the ILO was given a key mandate to protect migrant workers. In Africa, the ILO is working closely with employers and workers' organizations to promote equitable working conditions.
Labor migration has always been there. When you look at the changes that have taken place over the last few years, the issue of labor migration has come up first in relation to the global dialogue and the kind of positions that have been taken by different countries around this issue, which have implications for Africa. Statistics shows that 80% of Africans who leave their countries stay within Africa. How do we address those push factors that make people have to leave their countries? Not because they want to, but because they see that's the only option. And then where people want to live, how do we help countries in sub-regions to develop the necessary framework that will make for effective governance?
We're creating new data in order to help dispel some of the myths that there's this crisis of people moving. In fact, people have been moving since time immemorial, and people move because they're seeking better livelihoods. So we try to work at the drivers of this migration where it's unwanted and where they don't have to be forced to move. And that also means working on issues of resilience and adaptation for some communities, creating jobs, creating opportunity. When they do move, they need to be protected.
The ILO is using a hands-on approach to support refugee workers as well as host communities find opportunities for decent work in countries like Jordan.
الدراسة التي قامت بها منظمة العمل الدولية مؤخراً حول ظروف العمل في القطاع الزراعي، طبعاً استهدفنا عينة من العمال وخصوصاً العمال السوريين في القطاع الزراعي، وأيضاً استهدفنا الحاصلين على تصاريح العمل لكي ندرس مدى أثر تصاريح العمل على ظروف العمل في القطاع الزراعي. ولكن هناك تحديات من أهمها هو عدم وجود أسواق للبضائع والمنتجات التي يتم تصنيعها في الأردن وفي الأسواق الأوروبية.
The ILO works with its partners in solidarity.
The history of business, the history also of labor markets is linked to migration. We cannot deny that. If you really want to improve the way you handle a skills gap, it's very often the case that you need migrant workers.
There is an absolute lack of understanding that we thought we were breaking through in the beginning of this century around the fact that migrant workers don't take people's jobs. They actually make an amazing contribution to economies in host countries.
In Europe, the ILO is working to support refugees in search of employment opportunities.
Depuis mai 2018, j'ai été reconnu réfugié. Et quand je suis arrivé en Belgique, je suis passé par plein de séminaires. Et de là, j'ai connu le projet Cyrus. Je suis en train d'apprendre le cadre du paysage du travail européen.
Pour lui, ça l'aidera à trouver un emploi, d'autant plus que depuis la formation, il a obtenu son statut de réfugié. Donc il aura un accès plein et entier au marché du travail.
If they get a job, if they are able to earn their life, if they are able to feed their family, if they are able to send remittance back to the country of origin, that means stabilization.
And it's incredible to discover the number of measures aiming at integration of migrants. The first problem is they're not coordinated. There's a lack of political framework around them. Secondly, integration works and it's key at the local level.
The first thing we all have to realise is that migration is going to be a very important, probably a growing part of the future of work. And that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing, because migrants can and do contribute enormously to the interests of countries which receive them and those from which they come. So we have to confront, I think, prejudice, anti-migrant feeling with the facts. And the facts are that migration is this very positive part of the future. And given that, it's our job to create this positive landscape for the future, where migrants both give and receive to the best of their ability and do form a part of this better future that in the ILO centenary we want to create for the world of work.